if you're knocking down all the right pins, people people should be the first ones to benefit as the business prospers. Man, I'm killing it with these P words.
Perfect.
People, perfect. Yeah, perfect. Hey, Nix,
Hey, Scott.
how's it going?
Good. Good to see you.
This is the Sons of CPAs bonus episode where Nix and Scott share small but useful piece of practical advice as it relates to running their professional accounting firms. Today's topic, again, we're going to go with this P theme, and today's people. Pricing, profitability, and now people. I like this topic.
Yeah, I almost got a tattoo, or I still am thinking about it.
Almost
My
got a
fr-
tattoo.
no, my friend Jillian and we came back from a vacation and we wanted to get a tattoo that said "People are the purpose."
People are the purpose.
Purpose.
On a hashtag, like people are the purpose. People
Yeah,
matter most.
not necessarily a hashtag, but just people are the purpose. But I still haven't convinced myself to do it yet.
People are the purpose. So if you got that as a tattoo, would you get it in some Chinese word? And so you could say, I know what this means, and I didn't just get a random ass like, symbol.
No, it would be English.
So purpose is actually a future P word that we are going to touch on, but not today. So one of Momentum's new taglines is people matter most, right?
Oh, you saw that? Yes, I love
Yeah.
it. Yes.
I was very excited to see that because they do matter most.
I think
So
they do. And yes, we were working with this branding company, and that's one of the things they pulled out that made us different was our focus on the client relationship and the people that we have. And when they went and did the interviews with our clients, they said they never had individual employees called out so much. So I thought that was pretty cool.
so they went deep to then pull out the core of really what you're all about, and it's people.
Yeah, people and the technology support and real-time data.
So people is one of your pillars of your three pillars of Momentum. People's got to be one of them, right? Like it topples over without that. We
Oh
all
yeah,
topple over without our people. You know,
100%. I'd be nobody without my people.
you wouldn't even be a person.
And without you.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be anything without everybody else. I feel like I'm worthless. I got nothing if I don't have my friends, my family, my people. I think that's what defines me as a person too.
Yeah, I'd say
Um,
you're probably the ultimate people person of anyone I've met.
I take that as the ultimate compliment. Thank you. So if we're going with people, let's go from the top down and start with the owner. We've had evolving roles as owners. I think we both kind of started doing a lot more than we do now.
We were employee number one, or at least I was employee number one at
Yeah,
Momentum.
and we
So,
mattered most. And obviously, we got a team. Once you start a team, then you have players, right? And then we become the coach.
yep.
We were the player in our team. We were the MVP, and we don't want to be the MVP anymore. This is as it relates to you and footy. You've been the MVP before. You know how it feels to be the MVP, and you get the satisfaction in doing the job and doing the job yourself. And it's not just about getting the job done.
But I like not being in the MVP because that means our team is better, right? And we're
Yeah,
getting older, so it's good to have some youth coming in and some good players.
yeah. I don't want to be the MVP on my team at the office. I definitely don't, and not in the eyes of the client.
Well, I think if you have a good team, you don't have to have an MVP because everyone has their strengths, their unique strengths. Have you ever heard that quote? I used to have a T-shirt that said this when I used to play soccer. It's offense sells tickets, defense wins championships.
Hmm.
Basically, what that means is the offense scores all the goals, sells the tickets, but they wouldn't have won the championship if it wasn't for the defense. So I kind of think of the same thing for accounting because a lot of people think the CFO is the offense, but the CFO can't get their job done if there's not the accountant and the bookkeeper
Or sales. See, I
or
think sales
sales.
is the offense, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Sales is like, everybody's shining on the sales. They get the big dollar signs. They're doing great. They land a big client. But if it's not for the back office, which is, I think the defense is the back office or operations, that is the foundation of the company. That's like, you got to be able to fit into the dress, right? That's the fit. Like, you're rebranding, and you said working on everything before you get the makeover, something about the makeover.
Oh, yeah, so with our new rebrand, I now feel like on the outside how I feel on the inside. You know, when you get an extreme makeover, I imagine that's how those people feel.
So
They have
that's the
this.
business, right? The business on the inside is the team, and the defense on the
Yes,
outside is
yes.
sales and your presentation.
And then how do you communicate to your prospects or your clients that you have this amazing team as the team grows, right? Because when I first started, it was just me, and then it was just me and Ramona, and there's a few things that we did. And then as we've grown our team, we can now do payroll, we can do CFO services, we can do some complex technology integrations because we've gotten better at them. And so part of it is communicating to prospects what your team can do, but also communicating to legacy clients that your team has grown so they don't not realize that and then go off and hire somebody else for something that you could do. That's the worst. Have you ever had that happen where you have a client that went and hired someone to do something that your team's totally capable of and you just didn't communicate to the client that you
Absolutely.
could do that?
Absolutely. And then the big thing is the evolution of the team. Like, and that's a good segue because you were talking about, it was just you and Ramona. And as you guys started doing more, the business evolved. And I think the client's eyes, you may have still been the same business that you were when they first hired you, because it's like you send a kid off to college and they come back and there's somebody totally different, right? It's communicating with the client. And it's hard to communicate with all clients all at once as you're still evolving.
Yeah, and I think sometimes also what's hard is those legacy clients that you used to work on or that I used to work on, and it takes time to sort of transition to them and say, "Hey, I have the team now that you can go to for this. You don't need to go to me for this every time." But that was their first interaction with your firm was working with Scott, working with Nikole. So sometimes it's
And
hard to transition it to the
well,
team.
you feel guilty sometimes too, because you also feel a sense of pride in, oh, they want to talk to me. So sometimes you feel like you want to respond to them and you want to feel your sense of purpose. And those are two good P words too, pride and purpose, but not today's is people. So you're not always going to be that person. And I think that it hurts our ego sometimes to think, well, they're never going to need me again. I can just pass it off and my job is done, almost. Like, the job is kind of just starting too. Like, the fact that you have somebody else that's as good as you or even better proves that you've done it. You've taken the next step.
Yeah, and I think it's important too for those legacy clients to make sure you, even if you're not working on their account anymore, just to make sure you're checking in, grabbing lunch with them, grabbing a drink so that they feel like you still care.
That's the hard part that I'm managing now, is where to draw the line. I just went to go visit a client, and I didn't talk any business really, but it did. Chatted a bit and then commented on how dirty things were in the back and like things that he should change. But none, all of it was just what I would do as a friend too. And
Yeah.
none of it was really intentional. But I think those are the kind of things that matter too. It kind of shows that you care. And
People matter most.
people matter most. Yeah. And so pleasing different types of people. The next thing I want to touch on is we as owners shift our responsibility, and then who do who who do we focus on? Like, is it the client first? Is it our teams first? Is it us first?
Yeah, that's tough because, like you said in the beginning, it's just you and you're trying to please the client. And if the client asks you to do something after hours on the weekend, probably going to do it. But if a client asks your team member to work on the weekend or work overtime, that's a different situation,
You're
right?
not going to
Because
ask them to do that too. That's not in your best interest to leapfrog the team and say, yes, Ramona's going to do this for you, or whoever.
Right. And so I will always protect my team over the client. So we really try to manage client expectations because that's not something that I expect my team to do to have like a 24-hour turnaround on a huge client request. Now, occasionally something does come up for a big favorite client and the team they get asked to do something, they have jumped in and worked overtime to complete a project. It doesn't happen very often, and they know it's not something that is necessarily regularly expected of them, but it's just the team wanting to please the client and understanding that this is a one-off for a really good client and they're willing to do that. But it's not something that happens all the time.
Well, it's the first part of that, like you said, is managing their expectations. And if it's a really big client and the team's expectation is, well, for this client, we kind of should drop everything and we don't mind because we like this client too. And or we're just, this is part of the team. Like you go to overtime and not everybody's just going to go run to the showers because, oh, game's supposed to be over now. We're not going to keep playing. Like that's an overtime situation. But that's an expectation that should be set early on too. It's like it depends on what it is. It always depends, and you want to
Depends.
protect. Yeah,
Yeah, and I think it starts from the sales process. Is one thing that we try to do is not hire people that are jerks. And then if we do, every once in a while, you do bring on a client that has
I love
unrealistic
that you said we're going to
expectations.
hire a client. Like that's the best way to look at it. They're not hiring you. You're hiring
Did I say
them.
that wrong?
Yes. No, you
But
said it right.
I
I
mean, there
like the way
there
you
are
said that.
times like Ashley's like our first line of defense. She does project management and she's the director of ops, but she will schedule a call with a client, a meeting to just set them straight and go back through the engagement and say, hey, look, this is our delivery on these certain things. If you want to build in these last minute requests, we can do that. But this is what the price is going to look like because we're going to set aside 4 hours a day for someone to sit there and wait for your request. And so then that straightens them out. And it's just really just about communication.
Yeah, yeah. I like that, and and she's got to set. It's almost like um, Ashley has a really good idea what your products are and how to set that expectation because your products are your services.
Yeah.
That's the products that you're selling, and as long as she understands that during that initial phase, then it kind of protects everybody later on too. So managing the expectations, that's a really big thing. So then how do we manage our expectations for ourselves too? That's I don't know what my expectations are because day to day sometimes they change.
Yeah, I think as the business owner, we will always step in, at least I will if I need to, and like protect the team.
Hmm.
Or if there is one of these last minute requests, I'll step in if I don't want the team to work overtime. Again, it doesn't happen that often.
So give me an example of protecting the team. Like what's something you did recently where you feel like I really did protect them?
Let's see. It's been a while.
They're unprotected right now.
Well, I'd say that we're getting into January is our busiest time of the year, so I'm sort of like jumping into things I normally wouldn't do to take things off of their plate so they don't have to worry about it in January.
Okay.
So, for example, Ashley and I are going to figure out all the 1099s so that they don't have to retained earning, like booking all the prior year tax AJEs, getting
Hmm.
all of the tax documents. So Ashley and I are going to bang those out in the next couple months and just book all the tax AJs and roll forward retained earnings so that when they get to creating the workbooks
That's
in January to give
proactive.
the tax accountants, they don't have to deal with tying out retained earnings and the equity section because it can get really complicated if you're not a CPA or if you haven't done taxes before.
Yeah,
Um,
that's some proactive protecting.
the other thing I would say is when it comes to pricing or your sales conversations with prospects is if you price too low, you're saying yes, you're lowering your price to get that client, but you're basically telling your team that you're not going to be able to get benefits, you're not going to be able to get raises, you're not going to be highly compensated, you're not going to have time off. So it's our responsibility, I think, as the owner to build a profitable firm so that our team can share in that profit and that the team can continue to make more money and get the sort of benefits they deserve. I mean, at least that's what I try to do. I've tried to, like, all the profits I'm trying to make is so that I can share that with my team.
Oh yeah. So that's well, you've touched on pricing and profitability as it relates to people. So we're really sticking on theme here. We're like, I love that we plan these episodes. Planning is going to be one of the next ones too. If you're knocking down all the right pins, people are going to be the first ones that benefit if you're doing it right. I think people should be the first ones to benefit as the business prospers. Man, I'm killing it with these P words.
Perfect.
People, perfect. Yeah, perfect. So people will benefit as the business prospers, and they will bring more people like them. Not necessarily bring, as in bring their friends, but I think that the better our people have gotten, that's the better the next round of people get too, because good people attract good people. Um, it's just something about like, and good team attracts good clients too, and the good clients stay and the bad clients leave, and the good people stay and the bad people leave.
Yep, that's the culture. Have you ever had team members that didn't get along?
Yes, yes, I have, and I don't know how to handle that because I try to get along with everybody. And that's to a fault too. Sometimes I will sacrifice some things on myself to get along with everybody, but it's not everybody's like that. And sometimes people are seen as hard headed or stubborn or and that's usually the one that has to go. It's the one that's hard headed, the one that's stubborn, or the one that's that isn't a team player. We actually just talked about this yesterday with our 5 minute league, and he was talking about there's a lot of times there's team members, and I think that individualists, people that tend to, I'm not going to say that people are MVP players, but like people that want to be stars and that always want to shine, they usually the ones that the rest of the team kind of shuns out and doesn't want to be around. They're not team players, and the clients like them. Maybe they're all star workers. Maybe they're great in your eyes, and that's all they're trying to do. But then the rest of the team doesn't necessarily appreciate that. I don't, so
Yeah. Those people tend to be more siloed, right?
yeah, they're good outside of the firm. They may be good contractors working directly with clients, but not as part of the culture. That they're not, and sometimes it's the low performers that tend to be the best team players. Have you found that too?
Oh yeah, 100%. And those are the people but those are the people you always know what's going on with them because typically
Oh,
they're asking for help versus the team members that are pretty independent. You'd have no idea what's going on, but it's kind of nice because things are getting taken care of. But it
yeah, I
just
think
gives you
there's
that little sense of being disconnected because you're like, what are they doing over
yeah.
there?
Well, yeah, and so it's disconnection. So to really be one unit, they don't all have to be best friends, but they do have to get along. And how do you sense that? Sometimes being fully remote too is you don't get to see that, and people don't get a chance to really show their colors or their attitude, and that's not necessarily the worst thing in the world either. Like there's a certain degree where when you're in an office with somebody every single day, sometimes people get on your nerves, but if you're not, there's not a chance for them to do that.
Yeah, I would say the team player is up there as one of the most important characteristics that you could hire in someone in something that we do because they have to be a team player for the team and for their clients. They're on two teams almost.
Yeah. Well, they're on three teams too, because then they're also on their personal team outside of work. So they got to keep everybody happy because you don't want somebody working themselves to death and then sacrificing anything outside of work. Find that balance. Balance is a hard thing for me personally. If we're talking about personal things, I don't have good balance when it comes to either I'm spending way too much time with my family and no time work, or way too much time with this podcast and no time work or family.
I'm super impressed at how you dove head in,
Head
head
in first.
first into this podcast. Like, I was like, oh, that's cute. Scott's going to do a couple of them. And now it's like you're banging out 3 a day.
Man, I told you my dream is to have not it's not really a dream anymore. It's going to be a reality. At this point next year, there'll probably be 5 episodes a week. And I don't want to be a burden on anybody either. Like, especially with listeners, like if you don't feel like listening, just don't listen. But and if you do want to listen, keep listening. 5 episodes a week that are like 5 to 20 minutes long, and then the regular weekend episode.
Well, it
That's
seems
the
like
next.
the editing seems like the most
Oh God,
strenuous part, time
editing
consuming,
takes like
right?
5 hours an episode. It's
Yeah. When are you
terribly
gonna
long.
outsource that?
I don't know.
You have enough
I,
ad revenue.
when we get enough ad revenue, I'm gonna outsource it. I know that the price of editing is not gonna be cheap, because it's labor intensive. Yeah, Ackerman says just release them without being edited, but I don't
No.
think that you're gonna want to see somebody without makeup on if they always wear makeup. Like it's like and editing, it's not even just that. So as it relates to running a firm, it's like there's things that happen behind the scenes that are very important for the client, but the client doesn't need to see that. There's a lot of things that we're doing that we need to make it seem effortless. And I don't care if the client thinks, "Oh, that's easy." That's how they talk about taxes too. "Oh, my taxes are easy." "Oh, my books are easy." All that's easy. You know what? I want them to always think that it's easy. And you're still going to pay us to do something really easy because you know what? You're not going to do it.
As
And
long as they keep paying you. But
yeah.
some of our highest paying clients are the best clients. I would say the easiest to sell is the ones that try to do it themselves, and then they realize it's not easy.
Hmm. And as long as they know that, like I had somebody like, "Oh yeah, you can do my tax. My taxes are easy, and it's a
Everything.
300-page tax return." Like I got nervous and anxious when I looked at the front page of the return because it was just like, I mean, it was just a summary page, but it was just all the schedules involved and number of pages for each one. And I was like, "Oh wow, this is not easy even for me. This is like, oh, I don't know where her head's at with that one." But no, I mean, it's just like you want things to be happening in the background, and you want to make the process like. And this is goes with automation. This goes with repeatable processes. And I think our next episode will be processes. But it's like you want the process to be effortless for the team, and you want it to look effortless for the client, and you want to look good too. And so that goes with editing on a podcast. It's like you want the episode to come out good, and even though if it's a little bit of pain in the planning and in the editing and all that, you still want all that stuff to seem effortless. It's like, we just jumped on our computers and recorded an episode, right?
Exactly.
So, what other parts of people should we touch on? So, clients, they're people that matter most. I think we always have to look at it like this first. We are the ones that matter the most. As bad as that sounds, and I probably should have started with this, but you kind of got to get to the end. We are the ones that matter most because you chop our heads off and the body just collapses, right?
Depends if it's decentralized or centralized.
Aha, love
Ah,
it. Yes,
ah.
that's a good one right there. So that's a book that still in the middle of reading.
I know. I listened to it. I
Did
think,
you? Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So, and the decentralized. So, if you do chop our heads off and they do keep kind of moving, that's because we've created a great team and a great culture that can run with that. But I do, and so maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. Maybe we aren't the ones that matter most. I think for us, we are the ones that matter most. And I think that does matter, and we have to look at what our goals are as owners of the firm. What do
Yeah.
we want?
Maybe you should stop working at your firm and start a podcast and just spend all your time on the podcast and see if the firm still runs.
Yeah, do what I did. Do exactly what I did because that's what I did. That's what I did this year. I didn't even do anything in my firm. My sales dropped because I stopped doing sales. I don't do any work. I didn't even do my taxes. So you want an
So
idea of how
your
to run
firm
a
can run
podcast?
without you. You've proven it. Well, kind
Well,
of.
it's
Not as
so
well.
sales won't run without me, but the rest of it did good. The rest of it did all right. I'm trying to wrap it up. So us first. I still think that's kind of how we have to look at it. And it doesn't mean that we come first. It doesn't mean that the firm can't run without us. It means that our goals matter and our goals for the firm and our wants and our needs, because that's when it becomes a reality, you want the reality to match what your innermost desires have been. for the firm. Like, what's your dream? What's your big goal for the firm? And when you finally get there, you want it to look the same as the way you felt and the way you want it to look. It's like you're rebranding too.
Yeah. Well, we're steering the ship, right? So we have to make it clear where we're going, and we need
Right.
to, or if we get sick or something and die and can't steer the ship anymore, then where are they going?
Well, I like that you
Yeah.
didn't use get hit by a bus. Everybody always uses get hit by the bus, but getting sick and dying is much more realistic than getting hit by a bus.
I was gonna say get scurvy because I was like, yeah, we're on a boat. I'm
The
the
scurvy.
captain. I, I was like, didn't bring any oranges with me. And then I get
This
scurvy.
is the scurvy episode. Yeah. So, so then after us, I think it is our team. And that's the people that matter most to us. Clients do matter, but clients are a dime a dozen and team is
Mhm.
not. And without the
Right.
team, we don't have our clients and we don't have a product. That's more or less like I think that's the first, in our view, from our eyes, that's the first people we see is our team.
Yep.
And then our clients, and then our
Then your clients.
cats.
Our cats?
See
They're
your
in a
cat.
different class. They're not people. There's
Yeah.
people and there's cats. So
And
we
that's our
can't compare
cats.
them.
That's our next podcast is cats tips.
Oh, I was watching Shark Tank the other day, and they have someone was on there with a dating app that connects cat lovers.
Wow. So
Yeah.
there's a real people one right there. That's a it's connecting people through their animals,
Well, they
right?
were saying
Through
that
their
on
love.
regular dating apps, when men have a picture with a cat, their profiles do worse because of the
Wow.
stereotype of men with cats. Yes.
That's interesting. So that means that men can be free to be who they want to be on this cat dating app.
Exactly.
Did it take off
I don't
or
know.
did
It
they get
was
any investment?
just they did get an investment. I forgot who invested in
I
them.
think the Shark Tank would be a good thing to watch with the team. We watched The Profit.
I watch
I,
both, like, obsessively.
you watch Profit too?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
love remember, were you at ZeroCon Atlanta
Yeah.
when Margolis
hmm
Simonis did the keynote?
I
It
got a
was
picture with
awesome.
him. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
Yeah, well, we got kind of snuck over in the backstage, and then he popped out and hung out with us. We were with Carrie. She used to be the Zero, like she
Pre
America's president or something.
Right, right.
Yeah, so she got us a
Yeah, I should
little.
make that. I wanna start doing, like I wanna have the team listen to Marcus's podcast. I think that's a good one because
So
there's a lot of tax stuff on there and, like, business owner
maybe we can get Marcus
simple.
to get his podcast on Blake's earmark, and then
Yeah.
people can get CPE for listening to that podcast. I think people should get CPE for listening to this. We can definitely pull some questions out of this and make this CPE. Go fill in your CPE questions. Answer your questions so you get your CPE for this half hour.
I wonder how fresh the content has to be.
Our content is timeless. I'm trying to talk about topics that are always going to be relatable: prices, profitability, people. Thanks, Nikole.
Thanks, Scott.
Good to see you.